So the hidden costs of living in Chiang Mai that you should know about. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kat. I've been living in Chiang Mai since 2019, and in this channel, I share tips and recommendations for those who are also looking to move their life abroad to Chiang Mai as well. So I wanted to talk about the hidden costs of living in Chiang Mai because I know we see a lot of cost of living videos that give just a basic bare minimum breakdown of fixed expenses, but I think these are some of the areas that people forget when they're planning or in budgeting for their move to Chiang Mai. So, healthcare costs is one of the first ones that I have on my list of hidden costs because it's not something that people always think about. Let's say you have pre existing conditions and you need to see a doctor regularly in Chiang Mai, that's something you're going to want to include in your budget. But also just making sure that you budget health insurance or travel insurance, whatever it is that you have, and make sure it's there as a fixed expense because as someone who's lived here for 6 years, I can definitely say you just never know when things happen, accidents happen, emergencies happen, health related things happen. And so just to make sure that is always included in your budget. The next thing is visa fees or border runs. So border runs are basically when you have to leave the country and come back to, whether you're trying to change a visa or maybe you're applying for a new one. A lot of the times you can't just do that in the country, you need to leave and come back. So visa fees can vary depending on what country you're from. But I know for things like visa extensions, for example, I think right now the cost is around 2,000 baht that you can do at immigration. But if you actually need to leave the country for a border run, you're going to have to include flights for that, maybe hotels, depending on how long you need to stay out of the country. But again, that's going to vary on each person's case, what visa you're applying for, or what country you're from, because it all can be very different. But just another reminder to include that in your budget as well. Related to visa fees and border runs is agency fees. So let's say you can't do it on your own and you want help from a visa agency. There's going to be an additional fee on top of that for the admin or whatever support they're giving you in processing this visa. So not only the visa fee and accounting the cost for hotels or flights or whatever it is that you need to do, but also the visa agency fee, basically just the fee for them helping you process this. Another thing to consider also is to budget for burning season. So if you're not familiar with what burning season is, it's typically around February to April, with March being the worst month. For the world's worst air pollution in Chiang Mai. This past year has actually been a lot better than before, but it's still an issue. It's still something that a lot of people are affected by, especially if you have pre-existing health conditions or things like asthma. So for me, I usually leave for March and April. So for that, I have to account for flights, hotels, and different things that I'm going to need while I'm away during burning season. So this is something that is also important to consider if you're moving to Chiang Mai, and it's something, even if you don't have health conditions, I still recommend leaving if you can, or if you can financially afford to do that. But that, again, is going to be something that you're going to need to include in your budget as well. Another thing is high season accommodations. If let's say you're moving to Chiang Mai anytime between November and January, the cost of accommodation is going to be a lot more. And that includes for long-term rentals as well. During that time, there's just a lot of people here, tourists, people moving long term. And so prices for things can be much more expensive than if you were to come during a low season like burning season, which I don't recommend, but any other time outside of November to January, prices are going to be likely a lot lower. So in relation to accommodation and, depending on when you're coming, budgeting for high season prices versus, other times of the year is upfront deposits for long-term leases. So usually they'll ask for 1 month deposit and then 2 months in advance for rent. Some ask for just 1 month in advance for rent. So, let's say your rent is 10,000 a month. So you're going to want to set aside 30,000 baht to account for the deposit and the in advance payment. Each owner is going to have their own requirements, but roughly it's always around 2 months in advance and then 1 month deposit. So just making sure you're accounting for that, and also keeping in mind the price difference that you'll find whether you come during high season, again, November to January, or other times of the year. The last thing I have on my list is ATM withdrawal fees. So again, this is going to vary. Some people use Wise and transfer directly into their Thai bank, but I know a lot of people that just pull money directly from the ATM. So you're going to want to account for that. Usually it's around a 200 baht fee every time you pull money from the ATM, and then you have to take into account the conversion rates depending on what country you're coming from and what money you're pulling out. But yeah, just something to keep in mind because those fees can add up. I have Charles Schwab, and so my ATM fees are reimbursed to me at the end of each month. So that's not something I always think about. But if you have other, card providers, and the fees are much higher. Some even, the ATM fee will charge you one, and then your bank will charge you another, depending on what you have. But again, just something to keep in mind as you're budgeting and planning for your move to Chiang Mai. So I hope that was helpful. I think these hidden costs are things that people, again, just don't really think about. And I think it's really important to take these things into consideration when you're budgeting. So you budget accordingly, and you don't miss out on, very important things like healthcare and visa fees and all of that. So that's all I have for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I'll see you next time. Bye.